this was my inspiration for this DIY. This is a photo that I found on Pinterest and I thought it was beautiful. For this DIY, I picked up this flowers and garden container and this garden trellis from the Dollar Tree. I've seen these garden trellises at other stores as well. So I'm using Waverly brand chalk paint from Walmart. I decided to use the color Elephant for my base color. You just want to use a darker color. You could use like a brown or even a black if you wanted to. A lot of my decor is like gray, so I just decided to go with gray. So you're just going to paint your flower and garden container. Make sure you paint the bottom as well as a little bit of the inside lip of the container. After you have painted the container, you're just going to take your paint and paint the little garden trellis as well. Now I'm using the color Plaster, again Waverly brand paint, and a makeup sponge. I grabbed these at the Dollar Tree. They're really handy when it comes to craft projects, so I like to keep those in my craft room. So I'm just going to lightly load a little bit of that plaster color paint onto the sponge and just start to sponge that all over. So instead of rubbing or doing like a painting technique, I'm just dabbing, almost like you dab makeup on. This is going to give it texture and help give it that aged look that we're going for. And you're also going to use the same method for your trellis. Again, just taking that sponge and just sponging that paint. That way it looks like this is the old garden gate that's been out in the weather for years and years. Now I'm taking one of these makeup sponges and I'm going to cut off the end. That way it's not like a smooth sponge. I want it to have some lumps and bumps in there. And I'm going back to the elephant color paint, and what I'm doing is I'm just kind of mixing it in with a little bit of the plaster, and all I want to do is just add some spots to my container that look a little more aged. So in just random places, just add that darker color. I decided to focus on the edges of the container, and then I put a few like in the middle of the container also. And so you just literally dab that paint on, and you can blend it using your lighter color. So in this case, I blended using the plaster color. And again, just repeat the same technique on your garden trellis. Now I took a very fine grit sandpaper. This is Dollar Tree sandpaper and it's the 100 grit. And I just sanded over the letters just to bring out the wording that says flowers and garden. And I also took the sandpaper and went over the trellis just to Again, just make it look a little more aged. So you're going to want to wear safety gloves for this next part. So I have my safety gloves, and then I have some heavy duty scissors. You can also use like metal shears, because we're going to cut this container in half long ways. So just locate the crease of the container. The first cut is just a little bit hard, but once you get that first cut, it's actually really easy to cut this container because it's a thin metal. So I just cut up each side. And just kind of pulled it apart so it would be easier to get to the base of the container. So this will actually give you 2 pieces, so you can make 2 of these garden trellises. So one for you and one for a friend. Of course, this would be a great gift for Mother's Day, just about anything, a birthday gift, or just because kind of gift. And because this is from the Dollar Tree, it's really inexpensive. So, and you're actually getting 2 of these flower garden containers if you think of it. So for 50 cents, there you go. It looks so pretty. So you got your 2 sides. So just put the other side of your container to the side. Of course, you might think of something else to make with it. So I wanted to shorten my trellis just a little bit because I felt like it was a little too tall. So I took my piece of floral foam to measure. I butted it right up to that little first bar, and with a pen just made some marks where I wanted to trim it with my wire cutters. So I got my safety gloves on again. Now this was a little difficult, but just be patient with it. So I just took my wire cutters, and once I got a cut, I just kind of bent that metal back and forth until it broke off. And I got a little carried away right here. And you'll see in a minute, I was putting a little too much elbow grease in. And here we go, guys. Camera down. I don't know what in the world happened. That camera just went flying, literally flying through the air. I was like, what the heck? But it's okay. So here I am just scrambling to get my camera, get it set back up. So sorry about that, guys. So just continue with your wire cutters and just cut all those little pieces off till you get it to the length that you want. So I took a rectangular block of floral foam, just use a standard kitchen knife, and you're going to slice that in half lengthwise. And after you've cut it, you can see mine are always uneven, so I just trimmed it up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can put that other piece to the side in case you want to make a second one of these. So I'm taking chenilles or pipe cleaners to secure my foam to the little garden trellis. So you want to loop it around the bottom, and you're almost going to make like a crisscross because you don't want it to slide back down the trellis. So make sure you secure it somewhere where it's not just going to slide back down. Now because this is the thinner or more or less dense floral foam, those chenilles actually poke right through that. Except for this one. This one didn't want to cooperate with me for some reason. Of course, that happens every time. There's always something. So I just kept trying. And then I just made my own hole, and it still wouldn't cooperate. There we go, finally. So after you have your chenilles, you just kind of put your floral foam in place. Just do a little twisty on each one of those. And then flip it over. I took a piece of floral wire and cut off a little bit and just made like a U-shaped pin just to pin in the bottom, just to give it a little extra security. Then I also took my hot glue gun and added a generous amount of hot glue, just again to help hold that in place. Now because I don't want this up against my wall to scratch my wall, I grabbed a roll of burlap, and I think I got that at Hobby Lobby, but you can get that just about anywhere. And you don't have to use burlap, you can use fabric or just whatever you have on hand. Even felt would work. I just did this to keep it from scratching my wall, so I just placed that burlap on the back side and just wrapped it around to the front and secured it in place with hot glue. So now take your container, and it should fit right over the foam. So here I was just making sure it was going to fit everywhere and that I didn't need to make any adjustments. So I just lined it with a generous amount of hot glue and placed it right on top, and just hold it in place until it dries. Then I flipped it over and just added hot glue in those little spaces. So again, I'm taking my floral wire and I'm cutting off probably 2-inch pieces, and you're going to take that and you're going to make it into like a U shape here in just a minute, and I'll show you that. So I have some Spanish moss. You can use any kind of moss. I just happen to have Spanish moss, and this is going to be the base of your little arrangement. So just measure out how much moss you need. And take your piece of wire and again make a U shape with that. and that's going to act as like a push pin just to hold your moss. That way you don't have to hot glue it. Now just add your greenery and your flowers. And these are flowers that I already had. Of course, you can pick these up Dollar Tree, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. And you can even change this out for the seasons. That would be really pretty. I added some little succulents in there. And here I'm just adding a piece of wire to that succulent because the stem wasn't very long, just to make sure that it got tucked down in there. I am so happy with how this turned out. I think it's gorgeous. So I just added some cotton and some flowers and some succulents. Now you can take little clothespins and add pictures or memos or even flowers to it. It's beautiful. So y'all will have to let me know what y'all think. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more DIYs. Thanks, y'all.